Good morning, virtual villagers. Are you ready to perform some alchemy with me? Or at least something that feels very, very close to it. I've got my dye bath here. I've got my botanicals, and we are going to do some eco printing. You might also know of it as botanical printing, leaf dyeing, eco dyeing, leaf printing. They're all pretty much the same, but I found that this is the easiest and most accessible way to get you started onto eco printing. So all of the equipment and materials are in the caption, in the video caption above. I'm going to pop you down and we're going to get started. So I'm going to start by showing you the results from eco printing onto paper. Here we are. So I'm going to show you two ways to do it. I'm going to show you where we can layer up paper and also where we can use a tin can to get results from. So I did these this morning. I haven't had a look at them. I had a little peep and they looked okay. But let's just reveal so you can see what we're going to end up with. Okay, let's see. Ta-da! There we go. So this is what you're going to end up with some leaf prints onto paper. See how that one came off. That's pretty good too. There's a bit of rust on there, which I'll wait for it to dry and then to take it off. But they are looking really good. So that's one way to do it, and I'm going to talk you through that in a second. Another way to do it is to use an old tin can. So again, this is one that I did this morning. So we just need to unravel and see the results. So if you've just joining us, we are doing some eco printing or botanical printing this morning. I'm just showing you what the end results look like, and then we're going to get going on the workshop so you can have a go as well. And here we go. Okay, wow, we've got some really interesting shapes and colours going on here. I think I probably left this one a little bit too long still around the paper. I wanted to do it as a reveal, but when I had a first check, this was a lot clearer. But yeah, we've got some really interesting shapes. I love this bit here. Imagine that bit just worked into with some mixed media, maybe some embroidery. So anyway, that's got some left on here. There we go. So that's our eco printing, how it turns out. And now I'm going to show you how it's done. Okay, let's just get the bits all together. So as I said, all the equipment and materials that you'll need are in the caption above. And I'm going to start by showing you how you can layer up paper and your botanicals. So I'm going to start with like a sandwich. So I've got a good thick bit of card, or you can use wood. I've got my paper, so watercolour paper works really well, but you can also use like thick card. And all you need to do is to get your various botanicals. So onion skins work really, really well. I've got a spray bottle here just with some vinegar in it. I'm just going to spray that to start getting it wet. So use red onion skins and brown onion skins. If you've ever done at school, I remember we did natural dyeing at school and in the 80s, and we used a lot of onion skins. I remember my mum's having to save lots of onion skins. So then we just layer up the next piece of paper. I'll just give that a spray as well. And I've got some eucalyptus leaves here. Now eucalyptus leaves work really well because they're high in tannins. So it's the tannins, the natural compounds that start to release all their pigments, and it smells absolutely gorgeous. So eucalyptus leaves, there's a good chance you might have a tree. They grow absolutely huge, or you might know someone that does, or they're readily available from a florist. That's the eucalyptus leaf. Now I'm going to show you something that works like as a resist. So spray my paper. So I've got an old part of an old tin can here that's gone very, very rusty. So if you're going to use this, just be really careful with the edges. And I've got some really interesting shaped leaves, beautiful leaves. So although the leaves won't give a dye, because these don't have much dye in them, much tannin in them, what you can do is use them as a resist. So if I put this down and then put the tin can on top, what will happen is the tin can will release the rust and stain the paper, but where the leaf is, that won't soak up any of the rust. So that's how we make that one, and we can do a couple with those. We can layer up on top as well. Just a quick spritz, and then we can just keep layering up and layering up. I've also got some rose leaves here, leaves just from a normal rose bush. So just remember that you'll get the best pigment from the top side of the leaf. So actually I'm going to put that around that way because I want this one to be my main piece of paper. So again, these have a high tannin content. I've also got, I didn't put these on the list, but these were quite fun. I just had some hyacinths at home. They were coming to the end of their life. And I thought, oh, I wonder if they'll work. And they did. So I've just got some, these were just blue hyacinths. You can also use flowers that have a really high pigment content. So rose petals, cosmos, marigolds like the calendulas, pot marigolds. So they're going to be around a little bit later in the year, and it's nice because you can do it at different times of the year. Okay, little spritz. Got some more onion skins. So it's quite experimental. You never quite know what you're going to get with it. And I would say don't have any preconceptions. So you can't too much arrange things and think, oh, this is going to be, you know, absolutely amazing. I would suggest you just go with it. Just go with what happens. That's all part of its charm. Okay, so I've got some final leaves from the roses. But oak would work with this as well. Oaks have oak leaves have high tannin content, as do walnut trees, if you're lucky enough to have a walnut tree. So just carry on layering until you're done. So I've put just 10 sheets in here. But you could go up to sort of 15 or 20. But you might like to do 10 and then another 10. I'm going to cover this as well with the onion leaves. Onion skins, I mean. So I'm hoping for a little bit of a resist. But as I said, I'm already going against what I've told you, aren't I? Don't have too many preconceived ideas as to what it might look like. Oh, I've lost one piece of paper. I'll just use my card for the moment. That's absolutely fine. So now we want to make sure that that all stays together while it's in the dye bath. So you can use just big bulldog clips, or if you don't have any of those, then you could just wrap it really tightly with string. Just something that's going to take a good oil. Okay, so I'll put that to one side. I'll do the next one and then I'll talk to you about what you need to put into the dye bath. Okay, let's clean this one off. So you can use any tin for this. It doesn't have to be rusty, but the rusty ones do work really, really well. So if you want to rust a can up quickly, my advice to you would be to sand it just lightly with sandpaper, just to roughen it up. Put just a vinegar spray some vinegar over it, and then just leave it out in the elements, somewhere safe, out the way, so that it will rust up, and that will take a couple of weeks. I have found as well that if you get some like wire wool from like the wire wool Brillo pads, for example, just rip that up. If you put that over as well, that does accelerate the rust. But just make sure you wash your hands after using this, and so just be careful as well with any rusted surfaces. Okay, so next, this is just a longer piece of watercolour paper. It's just slightly bigger than my can. That's absolutely fine. Don't go too much bigger. And I'm just going to lay down my botanicals again. Grab some more. Onion skin for a little bit more colour. Some of the hyacinths. There's a few, might as well use them up. Okay. And then we can start rolling. So I'm just going to do it this way round. So hopefully you can see that's just easier for me. So just pop your can on. Start wrapping the paper around. So I'll hold the paper, hold it right the way down. Make sure stuff's going to move slightly, but you can help it back in if you need to. So, and then once the paper has got to the can on the other side, carry on rolling. And then we're just going to use our string. Tie it tightly and then start wrapping round. If you wanted to, you could carry on, just completely cover it with string, but I quite like some of those marks coming through. So that's held in place just enough. I tighten a double knot so that it's a bit easier to get out, to undo when you've taken it out. That's good. So I'll just put that to one side while I just go over the dye bath. Here we go. Okay. So for this, you want to use an old saucepan. Make sure that it's something that you don't use for food, or a saucepan that you're never ever going to use for food again. If it helps, start referring it to it as a dye bath. That makes it quite nice that you could just use it and you don't have to worry about it. So this is my dye bath. It's just an old preserving tin. As you can see, I've already done some dyeing in it. I've actually used this water a couple of times now, so it's got some really good colour to it. And so I've got about 5 litres of water in there. Just make sure it's enough that's going to cover your bundle and also completely cover your tin can. And then I've just put a cup of vinegar in. This was just brown vinegar, but it can be any white or brown vinegar you can use. Then I've also put just some extra onion skins in there. I put some extra eucalyptus leaves, and also there's some rusty tin objects in there too. That just really helps with all that colour. So my dye bath, I then put that onto the stove, onto the hob. That's going to start boiling, and then very carefully put your all your items in, and then you're going to boil it for about an hour. Just put it on sort of a little bit more than, not a rolling boil, but not quite a simmer, and that's going to do for about an hour. Now you may be thinking, you know, there's a bit of a cost crisis going on, and so that, you know, an hour's worth of gas or electric, well, how much is that going to cost you? Well, I did a little test this morning. I checked my smart meter just before I put it on, and I also had some lights on in the house. I boiled the kettle a couple of times, and it cost me 46p. So if you want, just make sure you do lots of bundles, lots of cans, put them all in the same. So just so you know kind of how much, you know, it's going to cost you. Okay, so I will leave you to make some bundles, to wrap up some tin cans and do some boiling. I hope that's really inspired you to have a go at harnessing some of the natural compounds that we find in just everyday plants. And please do experiment. Let me know how you get on with those experiments. We always love to see your photos and your comments here on the Virtual Village Hall. Thank you so much for joining me. All the best with your printmaking, and I look forward to seeing you next time. See you soon. Bye.